Alright, so today I'm going to show you guys how to solve a quadratic equation using factoring. It's a very basic concept that you're going to find yourself using a lot through a lot of math problems. So let's get at it. So n squared minus 10n plus 24 is a question. It's a quadratic equation question. So how do you solve it? You look at this last term here. So the first concept is look at this last term, which is 24, and say, what are two numbers, right, that would multiply to give you 24, but if you add or subtract them, will give you a 10. So you kind of have to know your times tables pretty well here. So you can have 2 and 12, or you could also have 6 and 4. So actually, let me write those two numbers there. You have 2 and 12, but also 6 and 4 is an option. So how do you know which one of these? Because in each one of these, like in 2 and 12, you could subtract that and it gives you a 10. And in a 6 and 4, if you add those, they could give you a 10. So which one do you go with? That's a very great question. What you want to do is look at this sign here. If this sign is positive, it means that the signs of the two things you're using have to be the same. And if this was negative, it means the signs of the two things you're using must be different. Now, notice the only way we're going to get a negative 10 here in this case is if this was negative and this was positive. And the only way we're going to get a negative 10 in this case using 6 and 4 is if this was negative and this was negative. Now, because this is a plus sign, I cannot use the 2 and 12 because remember the plus sign tells me to use the combo that has the same sign. I didn't say positive or negative. It just has to be same sign. So even though 2 and 12 works in this case, I'm not going to use 2 and 12 because this plus sign tells me I have to pick the one that has the same sign. So I have to use the 6 and 4, which is negative 6, negative 4, which would give me the negative 10 when I combine negative 6 and negative 4. So that's what I'm going to use here. So based on that, since this is n squared, I'm going to write n and n here. And then I'm going to just put the minus 6 there and put the minus 4 there. All of this is equal to 0. So when it's equal to 0, essentially to solve for the n here, you're going to make all of that equal to 0. And I'm going to make all of that equal to 0. So if it's n minus 6 equal to 0, and then n minus 4 equal to 0. So here, obviously, you move the minus 6 to the right side to isolate the n. So we move minus 6 to the right side, the sign changes, so it becomes 6. When you move minus 4 to the right side, it changes signs, it becomes 4. So the answer is 6 and 4. So again, remember, even though there are two options here, you have to go with the one with the same sign because this plus tells me the signs have to be the same. If it was minus, the signs will have to have been different, and then you'll have used the 2 and the 12. Let's look at some more examples here. So let's look at another example. Another example would be b squared plus 2b minus 35 equal to 0. So again, it's a quadratic equation. You want to solve it using factoring. So you're going to use the same concept. You're going to say, well, what are two things that multiply to give me 35? But if I combine them, like add or subtract them, I can get a 2. So this one isn't too bad because there are not too many things that are whole numbers that will give you 35. So it's really going to be 7 and 5. 7 and 5. So if you look at 7 and 5, can you get a 2 out of that? Absolutely. But you want a plus 2. So you want the sign here to be a positive 7 and a negative 5. Now, if you look at the sign here in front of this 35, it is negative, which tells me that these signs need to be different. And they are. It's the only way you can get a plus 2 anyway. So let's jump right into this one. B squared tells me to write b and b there, all of it equal to 0. Since this is plus 7, I put that there. This is minus 5, I put that there. So in this case, to finish this out, you make that equal to 0, you make that equal to 0. So it's going to be b plus 7 equal to 0 and b minus 5 equal to 0. So in this case now, you want to get b by itself. So you're going to move this plus 7 to the other side. It becomes b equal to negative 7. And you want to get b by itself here. You're going to move that negative 5 over there. You're going to get b equal to 5. So in this case, the answers are minus 7 and positive 5. So that is what you have there for factoring. Now, I'm going to do some more complex factoring options. And obviously for both of these, you can always rewatch this part of the video again, but I'm going to take this out over here to make more space. All right, cool. So if you take a look at this other question, I'm going to have 6n squared minus 18n minus 24 equal to 0. So if you notice here, in this particular example, you have a number in front of this n squared. In the previous two examples I did, there wasn't a number here. So putting this number here makes it a little bit more complex. So watch what I do here. In a case where you have a number here, what you want to do is break up this first part and also break up this last part. So if I break up this first part, 6n squared, I can break that up as 2n and 3n. So pretty much you just break it up, say what two things can multiply to give you that. It's a 6, so it's going to be 2 times 3, and then it's n squared, it's n and n. No big deal there. Now for the 24, it makes it a little tricky because 24, there are multiple things that could give you 24. So you want to look at, now if you think about things that can give you 24, you have 2 and 12, you have 4 and 6, you have 3 and 8. So these are some of the popular ones. So one thing I like to do as I've kind of spread this out, one thing I like to do here is use the combinations that are closest to each other. It's closer together. So like 2 and 12 is going to be the last thing I'm going to try. I'm going to try 4 and 6 first, and then I'm going to try 3 and 8 first. Then I might come to 2 and 12 if these other two don't work. So I'm going to try 4 and 6 right now. So what do I mean by I'm trying 4 and 6? What I'm trying to do, folks, is I've broken up the 6n squared to 2n, 3n, and the 24 to 4, 6. I'm trying to get 18. I'm going to create 18 from this combination. Now, the two things you want to use here is use either the side multiplication or crisscross multiplication. What do I mean by that? So if I do the side of these two, I want to see what I get and if that combination can make an 18. Well, if I do side, let me centralize this a little bit because I'm about to need some space on the side. So if I do side, so if the side here is going to give me 8n, and the side here is going to give me 18n. Well, there's no way I can combine 8n and 18n, whether I add or subtract it, to ever get 18, okay, here in the middle. So that tells me that this combination of numbers itself is just not going to work. So how about I try, I'm going to keep the 2n and 3n piece, but I'm going to change this 4 and 6 around a little bit. I'm going to change 4 and 6. Remember, I said these are the options to get 24. So I'm going to try 3 and 8 right now. Again, what I'm doing is I'm looking at all options for 24 and I'm combining it with options of 6n squared to kind of see if I can create 18 in between. So again, I'm going to do my side or crisscross. So I'm going to do side. Let me change the color. I'm going to do side and see what I get. So if I do side, I'm going to get here 6n. And I'm going to get here 24n. Well, the question is, can I combine 6n and 24n in some way where I could maybe get 18? Absolutely, I can. Let me take this out because we said this didn't work. So watch this. I know that if I have 24 and 6, I can create 18. So then the question is, how? I want to create a negative 18. So essentially, this 24, when I multiply it, needs to be negative here. And this 6n needs to be positive. And this is also confirmed because remember in the earlier two examples, I said when you see a negative here, it means that the signs have to be different. So how am I going to get a negative 24 here? It means this 8 needs to be the negative and this 3 needs to be the positive. I like to make these bottom numbers that don't have ends to be where I change my signs. So let's finish this question now. At this point. So I am going to then say, okay, since 3n needs to multiply negative 8 to create the negative 24 I want, when I create my breakup here, it's going to be 2n and 3n from these two sides. So essentially, this 3n needs to multiply negative 8. So it cannot be in the same space as it. It has to be in the other space. That's the trick here. So because 3n is here, I have to put negative 8 here so that at some point, this kind of multiplication will happen. Okay, when you FOIL it, okay? And since 2n needs to multiply plus 3, the plus 3 needs to be in this space, all right? So based on that, all of this is equal to 0. Based on that, let's just solve each one. Each one equal to 0, each one equal to 0. So it's going to be 2n minus 8 equal to 0. And then you move the 8 over. And so that's going to be 2n equal to 8. So the n equal to 4 because you divide by 2 for both of them. And then let's do this one. It's going to be 3n plus 3 equal to 0. And again, you move 3 over. So it's going to be 3n equal to negative 3. Divide by 3, n equal to negative 1. So at this point, we've been able to solve for both of those. So that is how you solve a question like this using, that kind of combination. And especially when you have a term up here. Let me do one more. Let me do one more of this one. Let me take all of that out. So if I do one more of this type, you will see there's an example, say 3r squared minus 16r minus 7 equal to 5. So if you look at this question, every quadratic has to have a 0 on the right side. So if you see a situation like the first thing you have to move is move this 5 in here, so it can become 3r squared minus 16r minus 12 equal to 0. So we need to do the same thing we did in the previous part of this video. It's going to be 3r and r. I just take this one, I split it. And then I look at 12 and say, okay, what are the things that give me 12? Well, I know that 2 and 6 gives me 12. I know 3 and 4 gives me 12. So like, if you listen to what I said earlier, I'm going to start with the pair of numbers that are closest together. So I'm going to try the 3 and 4 first. So I'm going to bring the 3 and 4 under here, right? And I'm going to kind of see if I'm going to try to get a negative 16 from the combination of these 4 numbers. Okay. All right. So let's do that. So I'm going to say, okay, I have this. I'm going to say, okay, if I do a side or a crisscross, will I get 16? Well, if I do the side first, I'm going to get 9r here, and I'm going to get 4r here. Well, there's no way 9r and 4r will ever give me 16. So I'm going to ditch that idea, and I'm going to try the crisscross of the same thing. Crisscross. If I do the crisscross, it's going to be 4 times 3r, and that's going to be 12r. And then I do, let me put the 12r over there. I'm going to get 12r from there. And then if I do 3 times r, I'm going to get 3r. Again, 12r and 3r, there's no way that would give us 16r. So this is going to force me to then ditch that idea. I tried the crisscross on the side, nothing worked. And now I have to use 2 and 6. Okay. So let's take that out. We'll take this 2 out. I'm going to use 2 and 6. I'm going to use 2 and 6. Since the 3 and 4 didn't work, I'm going to do the side. I'm going to do the side. So side here is going to be 6r. Side here is 6r as well. As you can see, that combination will never give me a 16 in between. So I am going to ditch all of that, and I'm going to try the crisscross of it as well. Crisscross. And I'm going to 6 times 3r. It's going to be 18r. 2 times r is 2r. So as you could see, 18r and 2r does give me 16, but I want negative 16. So ultimately, I want this 18 to be a negative, and I want this 2r to be a positive. And that's going to force me to then say, okay, how am I going to get a negative when I do 3r and 6? It means that this must be a negative, and then I need this to be positive, so I need the 2 to be a positive, so that positive 2r times r will be positive 2r. So now we can kind of wrap this all up. I'm going to write a 3r here. I'm going to write an r here. Now, because 3r needs to multiply negative 6, okay, it cannot be in the same bucket as it. So 3r is here. That means the negative 6 has to be in the other bucket, so that a multiplication kind of like that can happen. If it's in the same bucket, it can multiply into itself, okay? So that negative 6 there, and it forces the plus 2 to be on this side. All of this is equal to 0. So let's finish this out to solve for r. Since it's equal to 0, you have to make them equal to each section equal to 0. So it's going to be 3r plus 2 equal to 0, and r minus 6 equal to 0. So it's going to be r equal to 6 because I just moved this minus 6 over. If I move this plus 2 over, I'm going to get 3r equal to negative 2. I divide by 3, so the r is equal to negative 2/3. So this is how you solve quadratic equations using factoring. I've kind of talked about all the easy types and also the more difficult types. If you use this approach, watch this video a few times, you get it. Take care.